Are you a person of color and interested in psychedelics? Then let's have a conversation. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name's Fola, and here on Deep Mind Squared, we talk all things bridging mental wellness and spirituality. As a psych nurse turned shamanic practitioner and Reiki master teacher, I feel really drawn to inform people from a harm reduction stance on how we can really integrate a lot of these different altered states of healing for nurses and everyone else, I guess, in the world, but especially nurses. This way we can start transforming the healthcare system. So the field of psychedelics is becoming so much bigger. And as a woman of color and having been in a few different types of spaces within this whole psychedelic world, I'm starting to really pick up on understanding why it's super important we have safe spaces for people who identify as like marginalized groups or people who've gone through different oppressive sort of situations within our systems. And this doesn't only include people of color, Black, Indigenous people, but also those who identify as gay, transgender, and so forth. So really just having this open mind. If you are a nurse, you're practicing, maybe you're becoming more interested in psychedelics, I think this is a great video to inform you on some of the indifferences that exist and how you can start to step forward into practice. So why exactly is this conversation important? As I said, there's many different groups out there who've gone through marginalization and oppression, and as nurses, it's super important that we stand up for those that we're providing care for and advocate for their needs. But who better to ask what they need and to speak for what they need than the person themselves? And as a person of color, I can tell you, having been in some of these psychedelic spaces, I have definitely noticed over time how important it is to feel safe in that psychedelic space. There's just something about the energy in a room when you're journeying with other people that can really impact how you're able to accept and move through the medicine. And I'm not just talking about like psychedelics here. This is any form of altered state of consciousness. So breath work and other shamanic practices and other forms of healing. So when we don't feel like we belong in a space because of this ancestral trauma and other forms of like racial discrimination and things that are sometimes on the surface, but oftentimes underneath. So just really subtle like microaggressions and things like that, that can really impact how we feel a sense of safety. In order for us to really gain that benefit of the medicine, it's like, how can we create more safe space and allow people to fully open, to fully embrace their vulnerability, and to be willing to and feel comfortable enough to share that with others. And I could share with you some stories of times where the racial difference has come up during different altered states of consciousness, the different medicine journeys and different works like that. But without sharing too many of those details, it really did impact me, maybe not so much in the moment, but after the fact, even when I was integrating those journeys, like, oh, like, why did that person say that to me? And why was I feeling that sort of energy with that person? And a lot of times it comes down to that just not feeling safe enough to open up. And obviously there can be other factors. I know for me, there's a lot of past trauma and things like that around safety that could also be impacting my ability to feel that sense of safety. But I feel like that can really shift when we have a container that is more focused on that sort of energy of, hey, ensuring people of color feel safe, feel accepted, and are the focal point of that setting. So what would this look like in a psychedelic or altered state space? I think it comes down to ensuring that there are people around you that you feel safe with. Again, it doesn't mean people have to be just people of color in that, but where are the other people at in terms of their understanding of racism, their understanding of discrimination, of these like oppressive systems, and are they willing to do that work and look at themselves and not project things onto others? For myself, I'm thinking that more and more I have to be very selective of who I let into my space, and also being mindful as someone that's interested in doing more of this work with other people is how do we ensure that sense of safety and acceptance by maybe creating groups and environmental settings where people are solely maybe only people of color, so that they can have that ability to really open up about some things that other folks may get a little uncomfortable hearing about. I know when I tell stories about some of the microaggressions and things that I've experienced, they tend to be like, what? Like, that happened to you? And I'm like, oh, like, and then I'm having left to feel I have to explain what went on, and like, it's okay, because then they feel uncomfortable. And so it's that sort of thing we're trying to, like, I guess, prevent or limit those experiences, because they do take away from the energy of the medicine. And of course, we can't stop all of these things. For myself, being someone who's like half white, half black, that mixed ancestry, there's obviously as well like internalized racism that I acknowledge, and it's definitely an interesting area. So maybe we need to have more groups with just like mixed people and explore kind of how does that dynamic play into a psychedelic space. Moving forward, I feel there's such an important topic here that we need to start having this discussion. A friend of mine, we're going to start having these talks out there and putting them in public and educating people, especially here in Canada, where there's not a whole lot of like people of color involved in psychedelic spaces, at least that I know of. If you are listening, please reach out to me and let's have these conversations, because we have our Indigenous people here in Canada and other marginalized populations who would benefit so much from having access to this medicine and having safe spaces to do this medicine. And so far what I'm seeing is, you want to go and get some ketamine treatment, like you got to have a ton of money to be able to go and afford that. And let's be honest, majority of people maybe from some of these different marginalized groups don't necessarily have access to that. So how do we make it more accessible? And this is a conversation that we need to start having more and more to bring this healing modality to other people, to the whole population of our nation, to people who really have struggled with intergenerational trauma and ancestral wounds that are like coming up to be looked at. And so I just really encourage you to explore this within yourself. If you are a nurse interested in this, or another healthcare professional, if you're a person of color and you're considering maybe stepping into more of the psychedelic work, just really encouraging you to make sure you're doing it with the people that you feel called to. And if you can't find those people, then reach out, because there are those people out there. It's just really about us banding together. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave comments below about your thoughts on, is this something that's worth considering, or do you think I'm talking complete BS? Because totally would love to hear it. And how are you as a nurse implementing this into your practice, if you are in psychedelic therapies or any other type of modality like that? And I will catch you all in the next video. Take care.